welcome to the introduction to the new reconciliation feature in the ChemTracker module in BiRaft. Today I'm going to give you an overview of how to use this new feature, what it does, and what to look out for. Let's go ahead and dive in. I'm logged in as a member of our administrator team here on our Fictional Earth Institute. This is one of a few demo sites that we have available for BiRaft. Your site will look a little bit different. You'll have different modules on, different configurations, your own logo, your own URL, of course. But reconciliation will definitely look the same. This is a tool that's available on the left side screen here. This is available for users at the administrator type level who have that left-hand ChemTracker menu. So if you have this left-hand ChemTracker menu and you have permission to manage ChemTracker, this is where you'll be able to access this. So for folks who have view-only access to ChemTracker, they wouldn't be able to use reconciliation because it does involve editing containers, moving inventory, deleting inventory, all those permissions that we restrict to the manage permission. What we start with here, this is our reconciliation history page. This is a pretty new feature even on our demo site here, so we've only done one reconciliation so far. We're going to do another one on the call today. As we build up our history here, you'll be able to filter by the rooms and groups that these reconciliations have been done. You'll be able to filter by status and different ways to filter by date here. It'll default date to about 6 months before today to keep that list not too big. You can change those dates as you wish here. To start a new reconciliation, just like a lot of other places in BiRaft, you'll be able to go to the bottom right corner. As this list builds up, you'll see that link down there at the bottom right corner here. And this is where we can go ahead and start the process. Now I'm doing this demonstration today from my laptop computer. You can also access reconciliation on mobile devices. So it's been specifically designed so that you can use it on iPads, other mobile tablets, even a large cell phone. It does require internet connection throughout the process, though they will give you an alert if you try to do something and it says that you've lost internet, and it does have a number of autosave features throughout it. But best to use where you do have that sort of stable Wi-Fi or stable cellular data connection. The theory with reconciliation, this is a tool for your regular inventory audits, whether that's something you do every 6 months, once a year, maybe even more often if you really have the resources for it. And it helps you compare what is actually in the room, in the laboratory, with what is on the online inventory in ChemTracker, and then reconcile that together. So the system is going to walk you through, right? If you're using barcodes or RFID tags, you'll be able to scan those directly in here. If you don't, we have a checklist option. I'll show how both of those work here as we go through. But the idea is that the system is going to remember the information you put in and then walk you through the steps to reconcile, right? Anything that maybe doesn't fit. So containers that you find that are in the wrong room, that were previously deleted, all of that is the point of reconciliation and why we're so excited to bring this new tool to you here. Start by selecting the building where the room is that you're going to be doing this process for. I'm going to do this for the Burchard Research Facility. I'm going to do this for room 101B. So the key is, right, you do have to select a room. I could proceed just as is here. If I did want to, I could narrow this down further. I could pick from the different groups that are associated to room 101B. I could even filter down based on bench or shelf, and this data is based on the inventory in the lab today. So bench or shelf, I could select those. I can filter by specific location. Note, this one is used only for searching. So any containers that we scan or check off during this process, they're going to be assigned to the data that we select here. With the exception of specific location, note that one's only for searching. And that process is going to make a little bit more sense as we go to the next step here. You can also filter by last confirmed date. So this is a new date you might have seen on your chemical containers. If I go to my main chemical containers page here, we're going to see it on the page here. It's different than date last confirmed. So for chemical containers, date last changed. This is the date that a container was last added in anyway. Date last confirmed, right, this new date, that's the last date a container has gone through a reconciliation process. So in our reconciliation process, any containers that we mark as found, we're going to update that date for. So that's one of the filters that you have available here with the reconciliation tool as we're getting started. This is how we're going to set up this list that we're going to be checking up against. At this point, those parameters will be set. If you made a mistake, you need no new parameters, not a problem. You can click to archive this and start a new reconciliation. You wouldn't be able to edit it partway through just due to the complexities about everything that's set up in these multiple steps, but you can essentially archive it. So what I see here, since I selected I was using barcodes or RFID tags, I'll see this large checkbox here. And I also have my list of containers here with checkbox options. If you're not using barcodes or RFID tags, what you'll do is you'll go through your checklist of containers here and a bit of check off when you've found a container. So you can go through the shelves, all of that. This data is saved, so if I leave this page and I want to come back, I go back to my reconciliation history here, then find this new one that's in progress. So that's the status of this one here right now. It's going to take me back and I'll see those containers that are already checked off here. So we have that sort of auto save the checkboxes in step 2 and step 3. So that will be remembered even when you leave the page here. So you don't need to do this all at once. If you have to take a lunch break, maybe you're going through a room and has 2,000, 3,000 containers here, the system is designed to be able to support that for you. If you just want to show the containers that are left, I can uncheck that option. I have this tool here. Maybe help me find a container that I found on a shelf, because we know this list can get rather long. This will paginate, right? So if you have a lot of containers in the room, this will still work. You can see more of the details as I scroll to the right here. And information that might help me find that container, the physical state, all of that. See, this one's a gas. At this point now I can go ahead, if I was using a scanner, and scan in these containers. I don't have a scanner for my demo site on hand right now. What I can do instead is I can find some of these containers and copy those container IDs in, so you can get a list, an idea about how this would work. So we're in room 101B here. So from my full inventory list, this is where I can see, right, some of these container IDs. Go ahead and copy those over. And I can even put in a big list of these if I wanted to. So you can do either just one at a time or paste in. This should work even for a few hundred containers. I know some folks, right, they like to do this process live, whereas others from our early adopter group, they prefer to do their scanning into an Excel spreadsheet and then paste that list of container IDs in here. And either way will work with the system here. Let's go ahead and copy over a few more of these. So we have this data here. And we'll go ahead and get that added in. So it's going to scan those, and anything I scan in, right, it's going to be marked off as found. So that's a container that's supposed to be there, and I found it here. Let's say you scan in a container ID that doesn't exist here in the system. We'll let you know right away. You'll have that pop up, and all that data is going to be logged right here as we go through. Can also, some of the other ways that we can indicate that you found that a container here that's maybe not quite where it's supposed to be is maybe you have a container from a different laboratory, so we can go ahead and scan something in from another room and owned by another group here. Go ahead and submit that. So this will tell me that's listed in another location. In other steps, I'll be able to see that container and have the option to move it. Maybe we'll do a few more of those here. The idea is that you can just keep scanning, right? Keep checking off container IDs here. And the system is going to remember what you're putting in. And then of course, we can do that reconciliation process here. So go ahead and have that added in here. We can also scan in, if you scan in a container that was deleted previously, the system is going to know that as well. And again, you'll have options to undelete it or undelete and move it, right? If a container was in the wrong space and it was deleted, we know that happens all the time. Someone might think that a container is empty, but it turns out that someone had just moved it to the wrong bench or the wrong room. So that's what this process is designed to help you with here. We'll go ahead and submit those in. And it's going to tell me, right, these were currently marked as deleted here, and this will auto close for me as well. One feature we do have here, this was a request from our early adopters, was this auto submit. So if you were scanning in a container ID and your scanner has that return key option, when it hits that return key, when you have that auto submit checked off, it'll automatically scan that container in. So that's if you like to do just one container at a time. I know some folks like that option if they're doing this live in their room, right in front of the chemical containers. They like that option because then if they scan a container that's in the wrong room, they know right away they don't have to go back and find it if they wanted to return that to its original location, as opposed to updating the location with our reconciliation process here. At the top, we can see we're on step 2. This is going to be the biggest step, right? This is where you're going to be doing the most work, actually going through your physical inventory and inputting the data. The rest of the steps should be a lot quicker for you. And the idea is that you can still use bulk edit for some of these changes. If, let's say, you're moving inventory from one room to another, reconciliation probably isn't going to be the right tool. You'll probably still want to use bulk edit for that. But this is for those inventory checks, right? That some folks, that's the end of the year or beginning of a new year. They want to keep that inventory fresh and up to date. That's what reconciliation is for here. So that's the concept, right? We'll check off a few more of these and then go on to the next step here. Bottom right corner, we'll see that next button. I'm now on step 3. This is where any containers that I didn't check off or I didn't scan, our system is going to guide you through the process of if you'd like to delete or remove these containers. Now remember, when a container is deleted, it's not gone forever. You can undelete it either with the reconciliation process or from that chemical containers page. You can delete containers from there as well by clicking edit. Next, the container name. So you can delete or undelete with those different methods here. From here though, this is where any containers I didn't select that were listed right under those parameters. So I can always see the parameters here. This is where I have the option to delete anything I couldn't find. Most of the cases, you probably will just want to delete all of these, knowing that if they show up on another lab when you're doing a reconciliation sweep there, you could undelete them at that point. For purposes of our demo site, I'm just going to delete a few of these. So we still have some inventory left in this room. I'm going to go on to the next step. So step 4, reactivate remove containers. These are those containers that were previously marked as deleted that I'd scanned in. It is good to know, steps 4 and 5. This step will only have data if you're using container IDs. We don't know what you scanned or what you found if we didn't have that container ID in the system here. So this is all of you barcode and RFID tag users, this is where you're really going to see the value for the time, and using those labels is the power that you can get with using the reconciliation tool here. On this step, again, anything that I had scanned in that had been marked as deleted, I can see some details about that here. I'm going to go ahead and reactivate these containers. Our next step is going to be any containers I'd scanned that were listed in a different room other than what's in my parameters here. This could be room, bench, shelf, group, any of those options. This is where I'm going to then move them. If there are multiple groups in that room, we'll need to select one. So I'm going to assign any of these containers that I'm moving over to the Beck lab here. If there's a group that you're looking for that's not listed in here, that would be data you'd want to switch under the Research Management or Management tab under Locations here. And again, your site might look a little bit different. Some of these tabs will be labeled differently. This is our academic demo site. I know for our folks in industry, your sites will look a little different, but at its core, reconciliation is going to function the same here. This is where we could move and assign those containers. I'm going to move all of these different containers. I can see where they're supposed to be originally. In this case, I found them in the room. I'm going to go ahead and move them here and assign them to the Beck lab. I click next, it's going to take me to step 6. Now at this point, we are about done. This means that we have told BioRaft, okay, these are the steps that we want to take here. This is what we want to do. I can download that data, and see what changes are actually going to be made. If at any point I had cold feet though here, I could go ahead and leave the page or archive the reconciliation, and the changes won't be made yet. The key with how we develop this feature is that we want to make sure, right, you had a chance to review those changes before actually sending those to queue up to actually be done in the system. So until I click Finalize Reconciliation here, we haven't deleted, undeleted, or moved anything yet. So if I wanted to, I could leave this page, maybe go back to my reconciliation history, and no changes have been made for the inventory yet. In this case, though, I know I want to finalize it, so I'll go back to View Edit. It's going to take me directly back to step 6. Again, if I wanted to, I could download that data. Abandoning a reconciliation, that's a freeze on it. So that's a permanent archive of it if for some reason I didn't want to go through with these changes. Pretty unlikely, right, given all the work that does go into scanning inventory, everything with that process, but we want to make sure there's an option available for you. We're going to go ahead and finalize, and these changes are going to be queued up. If there's a lot of data to get through, it might take about half an hour for all of those changes to churn through in the queue, right? We know some of you are going to be dealing with inventories in a room that could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,000 containers. So we want to make sure that process was designed to work in bulk. You'll then get, right, you have another option to download that reconciliation data. We'll get a report here, right, about how many containers we originally expected, what we found, percent accuracy, right, how many we found over how many expected here. Your results will be a bit better if it's not on a demo site here. And then any containers that we'd scanned in, right, where the IDs didn't exist in ChemTracker. So you know, right, okay, we need to add those in a separate process here. Again, you have options to download the data here. And that is a summary of our reconciliation process in the ChemTracker module. Our team is so pleased to be able to bring this new feature to all of our ChemTracker customers. We'd love to hear from you how you like using this, and hope it really helps you for your inventory audits before the end of the year. Thank you so much for joining us and taking the time to learn about this new feature today.